This is CK, mother of Justice and Logan. And we were just having a conversation the other day, and we thought, hey, maybe other people would be interested in this conversation. And what we were talking about was anime and what makes an animated story an anime, and has the definition of it changed over the years. Now, I grew up watching G Force, Robotech, Voltron. Those were the ones I grew up watching, and little did I know these stories were not, generated in America. But I also grew up watching things like He-Man, um, oh gosh, what was it? The BattleBots, I think it was called, and all of these other cartoons. But it wasn't so much of an adult story or a high school story. But I notice a lot of anime now. It's just I was just trying to figure out what makes it anime as opposed to an animated story. What are your thoughts?
Well, anime in itself, right, is animation, or in
Right.
Japanese. I mean, I don't know exactly the translation, but with that being said, I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, initially the definition was any cartoon or any animation made in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
but I think over time, because of how popular anime has gotten, it there you have like studios in other places, or other countries, or like America, or like
Mm-hmm.
Europe or something like that, that will make anime inspired, visuals and stuff like that,
Okay.
and like the way that anime is drawn, because it has a lot of specific, like, the trademark big eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that is very hallmark to anime itself.
Okay.
Well, like, it's like, for example, like how in Disney, or if you look at like Disney films, or like their 2D films, they all kind of have a similar like style and palette. Depending, like, yeah, they'll be in different, you know,
Worlds,
worlds
but
and
the
stuff
way
like
they're
that. But
basically
there's a kind of like not a structure, but like a lot of similar, like,
right, like how, like, I think with Disney, a lot of their animated sidekicks and second tier characters tend to be drawn very round and
yeah, there you go,
like
yeah,
jolly,
like a
whereas
mascot or
right,
whatever, yeah.
and the villains are tend to have more angles
Yeah.
to them, be very angular.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, a lot of anime styles are different within the realm, but
Right.
it still has the same, like, big eyes, extremely emotive, voice acting.
Right.
A lot of like the stories are similarly played out, but like with like a different world settings, different world rules and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'd say, uh, an anime, like, because like a lot of people will try to bring up and say like Avatar, stuff like Avatar and stuff
Right, the
like,
Nickelodeon stuff.
or no, just anytime an animation studio somewhere else makes a good show
Uh-huh.
that's an animated cartoon, a lot of people will tend to. Well, I mean, no. I guess like ones like Teen Titans and, like, I guess
Mm.
Avatar are big examples where it's like they have obvious anime leanings in the way they look, the
Mm-hmm.
way that the fight choreography is, and also like even like the archetypes of the characters,
Yeah.
where it's like, you have stuff like Adventure Time, which I wouldn't say is an anime. Adventure Time is
Right.
uniquely, like, I'd say that's a cartoon, or like
Yeah.
something like a Chowder, or like any of that like
Yeah,
Cartoon Network
Chowder,
stuff.
or what was the other one we watched? The regular show.
Yeah, regular show.
Regular
Yeah, yeah.
show.
But it's just
Yeah.
like they're ones that are anime inspired,
Uh-huh.
and some people, I guess, consider them an anime because they follow like similar plot beats and arc points that most anime in that realm does. Like Avatar being similar to, I guess, like a shonen, which a shonen is like similar to, I guess, like your Dragon Ball, your
Right.
My Hero Academia, like the ones that are about like the young boy having the hero's journey essentially.
Uh-huh.
And that's like that's one, I guess, you can argue, but I'd still like to say like that anime is I'd say anime is only Japanese animation, because there are still differences between an Avatar and something like a Fire Force or a Hunter,
Okay.
because there's certain cultural things and like ideas and like jokes and gags that, like,
Right.
just because of a
I
different culture,
yeah,
it's
because I
gonna be
know.
you're gonna be it's gonna be, things are certain, like certain archetypes of characters are in a different light, like, like how we in America will have like the typical American or whatever. I guess that's eating McDonald's, blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
Then like in Japan, there could be like there's like the common workhorse 20-year-old or whatever that who's constantly stressed
Okay.
and is like writing like you know what I mean. There's various different
Yeah.
I guess just differences
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah, because
like, jokes.
different I guess cultural tropes.
Yeah.
They call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Quiet?
Well, I think anime is basically what he said. It's just Japanese animation.
Right.
You know, if you go around saying Avatar's an anime, people are gonna be like, false. If you say, oh, my favorite anime is the Boondocks, they're gonna be like, see, because
Right.
like he said, it's just a cultural difference.
Right.
We're not Japan.
Okay.
And you
So
could-
it is what makes it anime, I guess, is where the material is coming from.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because like most anime is what do you call it? Adaptions of manga or the comics in Japan.
Right.
So it's like it's like if you were to say like let's say the reverse happened where like in the U.S. comics just had a big international. Well, I mean, they kind of do
well
because
now.
they're Marvel movies,
Yeah.
but like let's say the comics themselves had an international presence and people were like very familiar with the stories, or
Mhm.
like in the U.S. the way something like that would get popular and get movies is if enough people or actually no, I guess it is the same thing. Never mind, because
Yeah.
I was trying to say like I guess that's what it is.
But then-
And our version of anime is comics.
Okay.
It's superheroes and comics.
So now, because if we're going with the style of
I
how
realized
it's
I think
drawn.
I was off frame.
Don't worry.
No, you
majority.
weren't.
You
I
weren't.
wasn't? Oh.
No. If we go by how it's drawn, what about the movies like Spirited Away and
Spirited
stuff like
Away
that?
is still very anime.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's anime.
Because I
It's
noticed
big
like sometimes
eyes, it's the same. Like there's still like
because
yeah.
there's that flow, that beautiful.
That's just really
that's
good.
just, that's
liquidity.
just well, that's just also him taking the time for a movie with a movie
okay.
anime budget to do Miyazaki and his those people. A lot of the people that have been involved in Ghibli films have gone on to do a lot of what's considered the greatest stuff,
Okay.
or a lot of the best stuff in anime. So it's like I mean that's just more that he pays attention to detail in his works because there's
Okay.
flow and stuff like that in American stuff like
Well,
in
yeah, I
Disney
mean,
movies.
yeah, like
That's how they
traditional
animate, and
Disney
traditional- yeah.
animation. I mean, if you look at something like Snow White,
It's just that I think with Spirited Away is that because it has that kind of look to it, it kind of appeals more to Westerns, I guess, Westerners. So they're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. I don't
um,
know. But I mean, it's his films always have that kind of style, and that's also been a style that that Ghibli style is
Mhm.
also very reminiscent of like the '80s style of
Yeah.
the popular '80s style of anime.
right? Because I remember, I think the first like animated movie that wasn't like a kid movie, and it had that very, and I don't know if it was because they used this thing called rotoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy Metal was like one of the first like.
Oh.
Yeah, you never saw
No, I
that.
don't think
We gotta
so,
watch
no.
that one day. Heavy Metal. All right, so you being the huge anime fan, what is like your? Because I know I started watching. What was? Oh crap! I can't remember the name.
Promise
Promise
Neverland.
Neverland.
Promise Neverland,
That was a good recent one. That
Which-
was pretty good.
which I like. I like the story of it, and it brought me in because I'm noticing that with me and anime, sometimes I'm drawn into the story, and then other times I'm like, really? Okay. And I don't know if it's because
That's because I think there's a lot of, like I said, anime in itself, I think, is most of it is tailored to young boys.
Oh.
Or like teenage
But
boys.
even yeah.
And also, I'm going to say this as well with anime, is that it's extremely sexualized. It's extremely...
yeah.
It's extreme, like, there's a lot of extreme, but it's the same thing as the comics. Like,
Yeah.
look at these posters, and look
True.
at how everyone's extremely ripped, has in crazy proportions.
Yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
kind of get up.
I remember
I think-
seeing you were watching Dragon Ball Z, but it wasn't an American copy. and I was like, "What the hell are
Oh,
you
you're probably watching
watching?"
Kai. Yeah. I mean, oh.
And I was just
yeah.
like, "What the hell?"
No,
and
because
then
like they cut out
the-
a lot, like in
yeah,
Dragon Ball.
'cause
I think they cut out like the ghostly stuff.
for a lot of American
Like Kai,
stuff,
Kai cuts out a lot of the stuff like the blood. They cut out
Yeah.
like a part
But
of the android
yeah.
thing. You don't see either.
yeah,
You
it's
don't
all.
remember that?
But also, I mean, like you said, even with the posters, because I'll never forget us going to Comic-Con. This was back in 2000. It was either 14 or 15, and we're walking down Artist Alley, and you were no, it was 2015, because I was surprised. I was like, wow, a 15-year-old boy is saying, what's with the over hypersexualized females being drawn? And I was like, apparently you were listening to some of the stuff I've been saying over the years.
No, it's just obvious.
Yeah,
it's just that
it's just-
instead
it's
of
just kinda
no,
ridiculous.
it's just instead of because like I'm not gonna say I dislike it,
Right.
but to think that it puts an impression on people that it should be anything, it
Yeah.
doesn't. I mean,
And
that's
as
the
a
thing. That's
cosplayer, I personally, it drives me insane. Also, as a cosplayer and as a person who has gotten paid to wield a sword, I keep wanting to say to all of these artists, please, even when you're just doing print work, when you're drawing these amazing female characters and they've got these wonderful weapons, you know what? Before you put your pen to paper, watch a woman actually use those weapons and be like, oh yeah, she's got to be more covered up because certain things move and stuff. Because trust me, it is not fun when you're trying to, do all your stuff and stuff is flopping around, or you have to worry about covering up because, and even female fighters want to protect the midriff as well because, bad cuts there. On the guys, they're all armed. On the women,
why? I mean, He-Man ain't armed.
he's got
Conan
that.
ain't
Well,
armed.
that's true.
But
Wait, that's how many out of
ways. I mean, yeah,
that's
you have.
that's how many men
Yeah,
have bare
I know,
midriff.
yeah, I agree.
But no, yes, with the men too, because I mean, yeah, you happen to be one of those people that has like the broad shoulders with the tiny waist, but that is not the yeah. But anyhow, I digress. But cool. So this was a cool conversation. Just a really short one on animation. I know you know a lot about it. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. What is it? Ghibli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you asking about?
Is that just
Studio
one
Studio Ghibli.
Okay, so it is a studio.
Yeah.
It's not a form. Okay. I learned something every day. So, well, that's cool. Well, this was fun. I don't know. Maybe we'll do this again and we'll talk about figures and the different kind of figures and sometimes storyline. So really quickly, so the animes that I've watched. What should I watch next?
It's hard to pick with you because I still, like I said, I know you're new to anime, and anime is weird. No matter what anime is weird because it has different characters are gonna act or don't act in American ways.
I know.
Everyone,
no, that I know.
And
you have to remember, my very first anime ever was back in 1980, whatever.
I
watching like Akira
like
and
I said, I don't doubt, yeah.
and
the thing
Monster
is, though,
Carnival.
They're yeah, but
those were like
those two
old,
are
old
very.
school.
Here's the thing with those two. Those two are adult films created after very popular, or at least Akira, a very, very popular manga. And that's the thing too the difference between Japan and here is that until recently, I guess, with stuff like South Park, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, etc. I guess always Simpsons. You didn't really there wasn't a niche for like serious adult animated stuff. That would take on a narrative arc that that doesn't pertain to a Disney or
you also have to remember we had shows like the Flintstones, which was basically the Honeymooners, which is a comedy show, and the Flintstones is sort of like the animated
so like the prehistoric animated version of
animated Honeymooners was the Flintstones, and also the Jetsons, which just took, I guess, basically the same story and put it in the future.
Okay.
So those yes, it's a case of it's animated. People assume it's for kids, but it was not a children's
Oh, okay.
basically.
Yeah, I'm
You
not,
know,
yeah, but
so
even
so all
still, though,
throughout,
like,
but it
I'd
just
say,
wasn't as saturated as it is now.
I'd say it's still, uh, what do you call it? I think in terms to, because, like, people still will point towards, like, stuff like Cowboy Bebop
Mm,
or, like, anything on the Toonami block as their first real exposure to adult,
true,
what do you
true,
call it?
true, true, true.
I guess, like,
Yeah.
animation and cartoons, or, like, because, like, in terms of, like, that, like, yeah, the Flintstones and the Jetsons and all that stuff, like the Hanna-Barbera stuff, yeah, I guess, like, yeah, it has, like, I assume, yeah, it has adult jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I'm not, like,
yeah.
at the same time, I still, like, that's not
It-
something adults were watching on their own. They were watching that with their kids and family. Like, I still,
Gotcha.
I still think that in terms of, like, you know, animation being entertainment and that can cover all things,
Mm-hmm.
it's still very, like, you know, I think, like, anime does a better job because the industry in Japan, I guess, is just bigger over there.
Well,
for
it's
that stuff.
also. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys may know this better than me, but it's like the manga and everything. Like comic books were considered a kids thing here,
And manga is considered, like, you know,
and manga's
it's
an adult thing.
No,
right?
no, it's still, I'd still say that like, I guess it's weird because the comics are equivalent to, I think comics are equivalent to anime
Okay.
in terms of like their the I can't say, like, popularity.
So wait, would you say that maybe it's a thing that over time it has become more of an young adult to adult industry?
I mean, it's
whereas
always
it probably
no.
started out as a kids.
Yeah,
thing?
it did.
Okay.
More, like, because, like, at first anime was meant to sell toys just like any
Yeah.
cartoon was, and then, you know,
Like
with,
G.I. Joe and all
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So, like, when you had, like, because, like, at first it was a lot of, like, mecha shows, you know, like the ones about robots and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Voltron and
You know, Gundam,
oh God, what was the other
Robotech,
one?
all that stuff,
I
Macross.
loved Robotech.
But like,
Like Hunter.
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like, because even in that point, you still had, like, 80 shows, like Dragon Ball was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You had, like, Fist of the North Star. You had a lot
Yeah.
of, I mean, obviously you
I
had, like,
remember
Akira
seeing that. Yeah.
and stuff like that. But, like, at least, like, it was already to a point in Japan where, like, there were these serious narratives happening, like, that could be made from animation, like 2D
Okay.
animation and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and where you don't see that a lot in
That's true. And Western.
yeah, and Western stuff, which I think you see now more
Now
with,
it's
like,
starting.
I guess, like, like, you have, like, that Harley Quinn show, I know, and
Right.
the DC
So
thing.
then that brings me to my next question. And this is the last thing I'll ask. I'm noticing I think there's like black anime studios.
Which is okay.
So
Here's the thing about
Yeah.
because, like, it is troubling because a lot of anime doesn't, like, there are really bad examples of like caricatures of other
Right,
cultures
right,
in
right,
general
right,
in
right.
anime.
but
Because
But-
that's just
yeah, but
because, like,
without-
Japan is a homogenous country
Right.
that doesn't
right.
it doesn't come into contact with a
Right,
lot
right.
of these different cultures. Period.
Right, and then
you know what I
then
mean?
for a lot of people, what they're seeing is represented
Well, they're seeing
on
what
what
the
they
media.
see in the
You're
right
seeing
music,
You're seeing
music
media
videos,
representation
this
of
thing
that
and
stuff.
that.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm going back to not necessarily the complete content of it, but is it still considered anime because of the style in which how it is drawn?
I don't know, because
That's a discussion.
it's a toss up because it depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Are the people who were who were involved with the project
Mhm.
do they even work in the anime industry? Have they worked on stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then they do this anime inspired
Sort of
project.
like how like you worked for Disney and then you worked for DreamWorks.
I guess I meant more like as in, like, if the people involved in creating it created anime.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And then, yeah, it
Well, yeah.
probably can be considered an anime even if it's just inspired by that style.
If it's okay, gotcha.
Like Steven Universe and stuff like that is an anime. It's just a cartoon.
That's what we would just call straight up animation. Just
I mean, it's a cartoon that takes a lot of inspiration. I'd say, like, in my opinion, I think a lot of, like, there's so much Dragon Ball in that show. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But, like, at the same time, like, it puts its own spin on it, and it's like, you know, it's a very hard topic to say. There's a yes or no, you know.
Yeah.
It's all up to the person, I guess.
all right. So going back, what should I watch next? Or should I go back and finish season 2 of Attack on Titan?
You should finish all of Attack on Titan.
Okay.
It's been really good.
All right, so I'm gonna go back and watch
You could
Attack
do
on Titan.
that if you
We
want.
used to watch it all together.
Well, back when it came out
when
in
it first came
2013,
out,
yeah.
we were all like, that was our thing. We would sit there and watch Attack on Titan, and then we had to wait forever for season 2.
Yeah.
And then I think you started reading it, right?
I just watched.
Nah,
season 2.
I read.
You
I
read
So
it.
I'm full week
And then
now,
you
so.
watched it. Okay. So I'm the slacker. All right. Well, if you watched, thanks for watching. Maybe we'll do this again. I think the conversation's good. And this one actually does talk and say more than 5 words. All right. Bye.